Hey everybody, hope you guys doing alright. So I want to talk about dominance and collaboration. Because in my opinion, and my experience, that's how I formulate my opinion is from my experience, as we all do, demons love to dominate. Angels like or love to collaborate. And this goes in, for me, like when I start thinking about that, like if you look at the whole way American society is run, it's largely run on a domineering basis. I mean, you work a job, you have a boss, and he really fucking runs the show. If he tells you what to do, if you don't agree with him, more than likely you're gonna get fired, you're gonna find yourself ostracized or with less hours or getting the shitty shifts or punished in some type of a way. Even if he's wrong. Like, even if you're fucking in the right and your boss is in the wrong, if you disagree with him because he's the fucking boss and he has the power to do these things, and he does them. If he's in, not all, again, that goes back to the manager, like, because some managers can work from more of a perspective of wanting to collaborate with their employees rather than dominate them. And my boy, I say he's my boy, but the current manager I have at this Domino's, he's much more of a collaborative manager as opposed to other managers I've had that are very domineering. But just like psychologically, if you think about the enemy, like, the best way to really fuck with people and to influence them and to get them to do what you want them to do is for them to not even know that you're trying to do that. It's very, very deceptive manipulation tactics to get, like, that's what I'm saying, like, these people, this enemy, this oppositional force, like, they're doing everything they can to appear as the good guys, as your friends, as your even lovers, as people you can trust, as people you can count on, when in fact they're fucking behind the scenes doing everything they can to fucking essentially destroy our spirit and us. And it's different for everybody. There's levels of domination, there's levels of collaborations. That's a very high level of domination, to do so from behind the scenes in an elaborative, like, very clandestine type manner. But even like with just a few people I've witnessed recently, today actually, people I've known for some good time. One of them is from my boy back in AZ, and others are just stuff I've seen online. But this domination thing is seems to be a very prevalent, at least amongst them. It's got some force, and it's coming from a source that's not, it's just not harmonious. It's not loving. Like, when you think about, like, that's the issue right there. Like, that's what mankind has been doing for so long, is one man fucking has an idea and he thinks he knows better, and so he tells another man what to do, and it eventually gets to a point to where it's like, you either listen to what I say, or I'm gonna punish you in some type of way, or push you away, or fucking make you feel like shit. Like, there's many different tactics one can use to manipulate somebody to, so they listen to the domineering person, and then that person is thus able to dominate. Like, even for this, like right now, like, if we don't cooperate with what's coming as far as this lockdown thing and stuff like that, I feel like in my heart there's a possibility that they're going to make it so that if you don't get certain things injected inside yourself, you're not going to be able to get groceries and shit. It's like stuff like that, like ultimatums. Anytime people are using ultimatums and like putting and I've done this myself, like, so I'm no stranger, and I'm not innocent of this sin. This is another reason why I know it. Because I have experience with it. But it's just going along, like, this is that type of attitude, that psychology, that way of doing things, in my opinion, is only going to perpetuate, more evil. It's unhealthiness, wickedness, badness, negativity, a lack, not connection to love. Like, that's going against love. And even Pops, he's not the same way as other people is, but I can tell that a part of him, I'm just being real with you, Pops, if you see this, like, because he's told me that there's nothing bad inside myself. And I was like, I've never really felt like that's accurate, to be honest, man. Even when he first told me I was the Buddha, like the few days afterwards, I thought about it for a while. I was like, wow, I'm the Buddha? Like, because at the time I was dealing with a lot of crazy thoughts in my head, and I had been dealing with a lot of crazy thoughts for a very long time. So for him to tell me that I'm the Buddha, which is probably one of the most, see, another thing about, like, these characters, like Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, all these people, like, you hear a lot about it, but it's all like, their stories. I mean, a lot of it is what they've chosen to share with us. Like, the real deal, the real characters that these stories are made out of, are different than what we've been portrayed. So I think the same thing is true of Jesus. Like, I've heard stories where Jesus actually, like, he killed it. He had a brother, first of all, which is something that's not really talked about. And then he also killed his brother, but then he also brought him back to life. And it's like, if you guys knew Pops, like, if you've walked with him the way I've walked with him, like, when he gets mad, it's nothing to fuck around with. Like, it's another level of wrath that's just like, whoa, just like, you just want to stay the fuck away. And so I could see how that story possibly, there could be some truth to it, you know. And also with the Buddha, like, I mean, there's just like, why are there so many temples and statues of this one character, of this particular character, all over the world? Like, just because he wrote some book, I mean, like, the story of him, like, I still haven't looked too deep into it, so that's partially on my fault. But what I've watched, like, because there's been movies made on him, and what I've observed from just, you know, being alive, is that essentially he, you know, a bunch of people came together, and he was able to offer some type of, you know, knowledge on enlightenment, and how to be happy, and how to live life, and how to enjoy, you know, the passions, and to work on the arts, and fucking, you know, really be happy no matter what the fuck's going on. And I mean, that's kind of like the main thing that's being shown to us. And he wrote, I think he wrote some books on things and stuff like that. But essentially, like, it feels like there's a large piece missing about his story and history, which is all about who's writing the story, his story, regarding the Buddha and his story and what he actually did. Because what Pops told me, which he picked up on from a telepathic communication, because this is what he does. When he talks to me, Pops is very psychic. He's very in tune with energies and people's personalities and what's going on with them, and you can connect to just about anybody. And depending on who you are, if you've got a high level of love, you're going to be able to really connect with him, and da-da-da-da. So when we talk, he'll get like messages, feelings, memories from me. And one of those was that essentially I, or the Buddha back in the day, single-handedly took down like a whole empire. Like he left his kingdom, you know, and he went to go live with the people and help out the poor and go on his adventures and do his things. And then he came back to find that kingdom that he left, which was his kingdom, or he was a part of it, had been overrun by a corrupt force. And this is what Pops told me, is that like, essentially single-handedly Buddha fucking went there and then defeated, you know, vanquished, moved these, you know, nefarious characters away from his empire, essentially single-handedly. Like, you know, so but like, if that were to really happen, like, that would make a little bit more sense as to why so many statues and people worship Buddha, you know. But again, I haven't done too much extensive research, so I really don't know how much is really out there. Most of what I know is just the main kind of like common knowledge that's spread around the Buddha. But anyway, just back to domineering. Like, there's like, this is also why, like, when it comes to like this new society, which is what I've been working on, is an idea for a whole new way of doing everything. Like, the getting down, like, even the man and the woman, like the way that, like, in the Bible, it's like you have to follow the man. Like, I don't think that's the best way to do things either. I think the person that has the best alignment with love, and their case makes the best sense with lining up with love, should be the leader. It could be the woman, it could be the male. You know, it's up to who's ever got that connection, because there's some females that have a better connection with love than males do, and it would be good for them to lead than the male. Otherwise, you're letting somebody with a lack of love lead instead of somebody with more love. So I think the same should be true for like bosses. And that's why I kind of want to get away from bosses. Like, there's people who have more experience, who can speak on things, but I think anybody who's involved in the movement, and anybody really who has a voice, should be allowed to speak. And if what they say has good merit, has good reason, is sound, then it should be heard and listened to and tested to make sure it is able to do what it can do. And it should also be compared to the current way of doing things, so that if we do come across somebody who has knowledge on a better way of doing things, we should listen to him and take heed to him and appreciate him and cherish him and use the good information that he's sharing with us in a good way. You know, but if we have some type of a structure set up to where it's like, oh, you have this, you know, domineering type people to where they don't even listen, or they push people away, or it's like, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do that. Like, that's like, that closes love off. It closes opportunities off from being able to do more. And it's also just like a fucked up way of doing things, like giving people ultimatums. It's like, because then you're like, then I'm doing things more out of a fear than an actual likeness or love for somebody, you know. And that's also what it perpetuates, more fear. So whenever you're working in the realm of domineering people, you are perpetuating more fear, because you're saying, if you don't do this, this is going to happen to you. So you're motivating people out of pain rather than love, when you could just say, hey man, this is a suggestion. and just share a suggestion with somebody. And if they happen to like it, cool. If they don't, that's cool too. But when you bring in that fear aspect and when you try to punish people for them not doing what you want them to fucking do, it turns it into something that's rather ill, in my opinion. So, and like I said, I'm no stranger to this, because I get emotional, I get crazy, and I say and do things that are from a place of pain and hurt and essentially fear, for whatever the reason may be, of me not liking the consequence, of me being lonely, of me not being heard or understood or liked, or whatever the fucking reason may be. I've done and said these type of things, so I'm no stranger to it, but I'm also at a point in my life to where it's like I know what I don't want, and I know what I do want, and I don't want to be involved really with anybody or anything that is associated with domineering, you know, and that's I have to, like this job with Domino's, like I have to, but I'm very fortunate and grateful that I happen to have a manager who works from a place of more collaborativeness than domineering. So, all right, but I love you guys. Hope you have a good day. Bye.